Hey guys, this is Dr. Casey Johnson. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I know you're going to love today's episode with Bethany, Stec, Janicek. Bethany is doing some amazing work, so I'm excited to have her on to share a story with you guys. If you've been loving the Unlock Wellness podcast, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Also, be sure to follow me on social media to keep up with the latest podcast episodes. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram and Facebook. My username across the board is at Dr. Casey Johnson. That's DrKaseyJohnson. And you can also check out my website at drkaseyjohnson.com. It has all of the past podcast episodes and more information about each guest under the Listen tab. And while you're on my site, be sure to check out the Shop tab, where you can check out my first book of my Healthy Children's Book series and learn about the Unlock Wellness Project, which supplies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. Thank you again for listening. I hope this episode leaves you feeling inspired to start making positive changes to your health. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Bethany, Stec, Janicek. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I'm Dr. Casey, and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Bethany, Stec, Janicek. And Bethany has an amazing story. She's completely transformed her health and her life with a plant-based diet and has lost over 80 pounds. And I'm just excited to have her on to share her story. She's helping so many other people do the same through her coaching program, NutriBabe Nation, and just excited to have her on. So Bethany, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Casey. I'm pumped.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's just jump into it. Kind of like walk us through your backstory, what your childhood was like, kind of like walk us through your wellness journey a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up on a farm in middle of nowhere, Nebraska, on a pig farm, and just the traditional Midwest, upbringing. We had meat, potatoes, bread and butter, and a glass of milk at every meal. And that was all I knew. My parents raised pigs and organic crops as well. And it was just farm life. And that was all I really knew. And with that, with the lifestyle and the foods that I was eating, I was always overweight. I remember, first, second grade, young elementary school, just recognizing and noticing that I was physically bigger than all of my friends and my classmates, like by a lot. And I never really thought too much about it. I wondered why I was bigger and, it must be a problem with me. And I think at a really early age, I developed kind of this extroverted personality about, laughs and games and, all this kind of stuff to kind of mask the, maybe the little self-confidence that I did have. And this continued throughout junior high and high school. I was always the bigger friend, and I always was eating donuts by myself in my closet, like a ton of emotional eating, a lot of binging and purging in high school, and a lot of just like chaos kind of in my own head about how my whole life revolved around food and junk food.
Did you try anything as far as
Yes.
as far as dieting and things like that growing up?
Yes, I was always, I want to say my first diet or my first thought about, hey, I need to do something different was in elementary school. I remember doing the military diet. It might have a different name now, with my mom, cottage cheese, saltine crackers, beets, and hot dogs or something disgusting.
Crazy.
It was nuts. And I remember doing that with my mom. My mom was always overweight as well. Not always, but she was at the point of my adolescence. And so we would always kind of do some things together, some things on our own. And yeah, aside from the military diet, it was like I mentioned, binging and purging. I mentioned, not eating, portioning things out, and just trying to do all of this with, there's no internet back then, in the early 90s. And I was just a kid. And so, yeah, I tried a bunch of stuff. I thought it was a problem with me. None of my girlfriends had, physical weight issues or anything like that. And really not a ton of people around me did at that point. And so I graduated high school, I went to college, and then I'm like really having free reign of all the junk food and fast food and alcohol. And I went all in on that stuff and not all in on college. And so I fell into a very deep depression, anxiety, suicidal point in my life for a couple years there. I left college on medical leave, and a ton of hospital stays, alcohol poisoning, like all this stuff. And really, chaos is the best word that I have to describe it. I was all over the place, and I felt like my whole life was controlled by food. And I continued to keep trying diets and, go 3 hard hours on the elliptical at the gym, but then order a pizza when I got home. Like, just crazy cycles of like trying to get out and then, falling back into old patterns, and round and round and round again I went. And I got up to, at my peak, I'm sure I was around 250. But when I weighed myself at the beginning of my lifestyle change, when I decided that I was going to make a change no matter what, I was 233. And this was May 19th, 2013. I said, this is enough. Like, I don't like me. I don't know what my life entails. I don't have any other hobbies or interests besides food. Like, I was really taken over by this chaos lifestyle that I was leading.
Was there something on that specific day that happened, or it was just like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yep. I was standing in my parents' kitchen back in Nebraska. We were back home for something, and my little brother asked me, he was always into fitness and nutrition and, all that kind of stuff. And he would occasionally check in and see how things are going, and I would just blow it off, But this particular day, he just asked the same question that he always had. And that's, how's your lifestyle and nutrition going? Like, how's everything going? Just kind of checking in with you. And I found myself saying all of these like really awesome things that I like talked myself into actually being real. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing really good with my nutrition. And oh yeah, I have a gym membership, which was true, but I like never went. Or, I've been really, trying to move a lot more. And it's like, no, you're not, so I was saying all of these things out loud to him. And in the back of my mind, like, as I'm saying them, I'm like, what are you doing? You're trying to make it sound like you have your shit together, and you don't, And so it was that moment of where I came to my, like, to my conscious, and I caught myself in that cycle and in the, all these words and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, I need, this is it. I just got to stopping now. Like, I finally was there where I could hear myself and was open to receiving what I was actually saying. And I let myself be like, we're changing today. Like, it's today or nothing. And I have never looked back. It's just been forward since then.
That's cool. So like, where did you go from there? Because like, you made that decision. So like, where's the first resource you go? Because you've done all of these diets. So you, at that point, you probably have no idea which one's right, which one's wrong. So like, what led you to the right source?
Yeah. So at this point, I did not know that the whole food plant-based lifestyle was a thing or that it existed. And so I did what I had done pretty much any time previous, which was to increase my fruits and vegetables, which everybody knows is healthy, right? Fruits and veggies. Right. So I increased those, and I decreased the obvious type of stuff like fast food and donuts and Cheetos and alcohol and things like that. And then I upped my activity. And so I'm like, I must not have stuck with this long enough before, right? Because these are the obvious types of things. And I was still doing like fat-free cheeses, lean meats, sugar-free Chips Ahoy, like all these things, right? Like what society tells you is like health, like Greek yogurt and like all this stuff. And so I was like, I must just not have stuck with it all of those times, or there must be something wrong with me or whatever. So I kind of started in that same way again, but I told myself I wasn't going to quit. I was going to keep moving forward. And that was something that I never told myself before. All these other diets, I was like, I'll try it out. And this time I was like, we're not trying, we're doing. So just do it. And so a couple months of that, I did have some weight loss. I did have some success. I did have some increased energy in all those ways. But something still wasn't right. I still was like, I was feeling restricted, right? From, got into watching calories again and looking at like, fat content and, carbs, being scared of carbs and all this stuff. And I'm like, gosh, something just isn't right yet. And my brother, that same brother, had come to visit, and he said, hey, have you ever heard of Dr. Joel Fuhrman, he wrote this book, Eat to Live, about the nutritarian lifestyle. It's basically it's a different approach to a lifestyle. It's all whole food, plant-based. And I was like, no, I'm going to look into that. So I watched one of his PBS specials, and my jaw's like on the floor the whole time. And I'm like, this is it. I found my out. I found the answer. I found my life. Like, I was so pumped that, because everything he was saying was like abundance and variety and no restriction and like all this. And I'm like, what? This is the complete opposite that society and magazines and everybody tells you is the right way to eat healthfully.
Right.
And so I'm just like, well, I've tried everything else. Why not this? Let's do it. And so I went all in. And, like I said, I haven't stopped since, and now I'm coaching others to do the same. It's almost 5 years later. And so it just, it's been such an amazing journey and ride. And I just can't, I'm so excited to be able to share and help inspire others, because I know I've been there. Like, I've done all the diets. I've been, looking at myself in the mirror, not knowing who's looking back at me, and now I just love nothing more than helping other people, get out of that.
That's awesome. And I love how you mentioned the no restrictions part, because it's such a big part of this, because like, especially when people are dealing with things like, food addictions and like, they just like, you don't want to feel restricted at all. And like, you have to count calories and like and whenever you have to do all of those little steps and like constant food diaries all of the time, like that's not sustainable. And it's really not healthy to do it all the time. Like it's different if you're trying to like maybe track something to see maybe where you're going wrong. But if you're like telling yourself, I'm going to have a food diary for the rest of my life, or we're going to count calories the rest of my life, or points or whatever, it's just not a sustainable way to live. And it really could never be. I know. It's just really crazy.
Yeah. I'm so big on how do we make this lifestyle easy and fun, and everything you just mentioned, the calorie counting, the diary every single day, the watching the carbs, like that's not easy or fun. So like, how do we make it so? And I think you're so like, you hit the nail on the head when you're like talking about restriction, right? And calorie counting and not overeating and not eating too much, because in all of these diets, it's like, don't overeat, portion things out, like don't have another bite, only have one. And that is like, it's like a slap on the hand from society or from your mom or from, somebody, fat shaming you or something, right? Like we've been ingrained all of that, like don't eat so much. And now like I joke all the time, like my huge bowls are like a pig trough. Like I eat a ton of food. And I was, you're able to eat so much volume and so much variety and the abundance and all that. And you truly get to fill up to satisfaction, not stuff yourself. Of course, we still don't want to overeat, but we're filling up to satisfaction at each and every meal. Whenever your body is truly hungry, you get to feed it, And that's so relaxing to hear for a lot of people, because they have been so trained and ingrained and all that from society and everything else that doing that and having that mindset is wrong. But when you have it on the right foods, it's right.
Right. Because because even like, you were talking about college, like I feel like everybody does some type of diet in college. Like it doesn't matter. I feel like everybody does. But like, can you remember like maybe you told yourself you're going to have a set amount of meals, and then you have a certain amount of calories at each meal, and then a snack that has like maybe 90 calories. And like, you're just dying waiting for that snack because you're so hungry. Like that's a bad feeling. So it's definitely like one of those things. It's definitely like more psychological, but I think, just having the freedom to like, do what we're doing is just, it's super empowering.
Absolutely. And giving yourself permission to open up to that new perspective, the perspective that we were scared of for the last 15 years. Like it's hard to get out of that. And once you give yourself permission, and you have maybe a coach or mentor, or, a podcast or something saying, give yourself permission to let down the walls of restriction and deprivation. Like, because what's on the other side of that is fields and fields of like greens and grains and fruit and like all this stuff that is fair game, and that is so refreshing. So I'm glad that we touched on that today, because it's a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big fear of it too comes with, well, two things. We could go with carbs and also sugars, but not like refined sugars and things like that, but like sugar, even sugars from fruit. And I'm like, and I'm we've been trained to like say that all carbs are bad and don't eat too much fruit or don't eat certain fruits because the sugar is too high, but you're not processing those the same because of the fiber content. So you can't just count sugars like that. But I get where they're coming from because I've been taught the same thing in certain situations, and like so it's understanding that there are good carbs. There are sugars from fruit is good. Like you have to kind of understand that. So if you're like tracking everything in an app on your phone, like I get where those things can look bad, but you have to understand where it's coming from, where the source is. Yeah.
Yes, the source. Absolutely. Yeah. When I'm a big fan of carbs. Obviously, it's most of my diet. But you're so right. The difference between a refined carb and a whole carb, like a whole baked sweet potato versus a bag of deep fat fried, pretend to be potatoes from McDonald's, like they're so different. And same with the sugar too. I had a client in past this last year, and when she came to me, she's like, I just got to tell you, I'm literally terrified to eat an apple because she had heard, all of these things, and she had all this in her ear from all these other places. Maybe it was a past coach or a society or a coworker, don't eat too many apples because the sugar. And I'm like, eat all the apples, have as many. And that was one thing we circled back to at the end of our coaching. And now she's on more of a maintenance plan, but with me, but she's like, I'm just so excited. I remember when I came to you, I was terrified, like literally terrified to eat an apple. And now I'm like, give me my apple, And so having just even the simplest things like that to be lifted off of you and to take all that pressure away, it's just, oh my gosh.
It's just like, find me one person who their story is, I got fat from eating too many apples, and I'd like to have them on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously it just doesn't happen. And it's just like, I understand where the thinking comes from, but it's just like, but it's crazy. So it's, the source is definitely important. So like, I know you're doing a lot of like coaching and stuff. Do you want to talk about your website and then like what's all happening there and like the coaching, and just kind of walk us through it all?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thanks for asking. So I do have my complimentary website is at lovechard.com. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we got that name. My husband loves puns, and we are always really big, we're entrepreneurs. And so we're really big fans of like work hard and play hard and love hard. And so we took that pun and turned it into a vegetable with Swiss chard. And so our tagline is work hard, play hard, love chard. So little vegetable pun there.
That's awesome.
But yes, complimentary website at lovechard.com. I have a Love Chard business page, the public Facebook page as well, that I do a weekly live show every Tuesday on. And aside from that, public stuff, I guess I do have a monthly membership site too for my clients. We have just over 100 members in the membership site, and it is so great to be able to connect like-minded people on the same journey, and have instant, constant access to that. So I have courses, I have videos, I have recipes, tutorials, how-tos. There's a community forum. There's a social platform. It's just a all-in-one kind of one-stop shop place for people to go and have a new home, because in this life, in this world, there's just not a lot sometimes around us physically that, people that are going through a journey, or maybe a coach that you can't find in your local area or something. Virtual stuff is so great and is so awesome, these past few years. And in this movement, the whole food plant-based lifestyle has been growing so much in the past few years. And earlier last year, I said, I need to find a place to, house all of this stuff and to give back to all of these people and to have them have somewhere to go. Mm-hmm. And so I created NutriBabe Nation. So you can see all the details for the monthly membership site, testimonials, and sign up. Everything is at NutriBabeNation.com. And then I do one-on-one as well, because I know that there are some people that love that personal, accelerated results type of feel as well. And so I offer one-on-one in addition to the membership site.
That's awesome. No, I think, just having the community is super important, especially if, because nobody wants to feel like they're they're doing this alone. And if they are, like, maybe you're the only person in your family that wants to try it, but like, or if you don't have any like friends that are wanting to go a more plant-based way of eating,
Right.
like, it's so nice to have that community, because it really does feel like, you know, those people, you can like, you know, kind of feed off each other and like share recipes, and like, it's just really awesome to have that. And I think, I mean, the plant-based community on social media is really great. And I feel like it's close knit, and like everybody's so amazing. Yeah. So that's been really awesome on my end as well.
Yeah. It's so great. Like when I first started this lifestyle back in 2013, there was no, like, I didn't even know, I don't even think Facebook groups were a thing yet.
Probably not.
But yeah, but not popular. I didn't know that there were coaches out there, you know, like Dr. Greger's book wasn't even out yet, you know, so I did have a couple books. I had Google, and that was kind of it, you know? And so I struggled a lot through my journey. I cried myself to sleep a ton. I binged on a ton of Dominoes. Like, I've been in that place too, like on the journey, but still alone and by myself and struggling through everything. And so that's another reason why I coach now too. It's like, I don't want anyone else to be alone. And if you want and need support, then let's go. Like, I'm here, let's do this. And most people need more support than they think they do, me included. You know, I have coaches as well. So there's only so far that a book or a website or a Google search can take you. The up-leveled support and community and guidance and tools literally handed to you. So you don't have to do the work and trying this and trying that and all this. Like, I hand that to you. And I think that is, it's overwhelming in itself to make a lifestyle change, and to know that you have something handed and delivered right to you, you know, specifically catered towards you, is just, that's refreshing for a lot of my clients as well. They feel that relieved feeling of like, yes, I can just relax and I can just follow along and I can just do the action steps and, you know, all of that. So it's been so great.
Yeah. And that's, I love how you said that, because it really kind of boils down to like, you know, all of the resources, all the documentaries, all the books, like all of that, it might inspire you, but it's really that community that's going to help put it into action. And like, and I mean, you need both. I mean, you definitely need both, but like, I think too many times people might get inspired, but they don't do anything about it. And whenever you have somebody to help maybe keep you accountable, or, you know, if you don't want somebody to keep you accountable, but you just want to feel like you have somebody you can chat with if you have questions, like, that's what really helps make like a sustainable action over time. And it's like, it's really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many times too, it's like, I know on my journey, I oftentimes felt like I'm the only one that is going through this. I'm the only one that struggles. I'm the only one that feels this. Like, there's something wrong with me. And I say this to my clients all the time, like, you are in the perfect position. Wherever you are at right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. But where do you want to go? And then I will hand you the tools to get there, you know? So there's no behind, there's no, you know, it's never too late to make a change. And when that person is ready, it's like, let's go. Let's ball hard and get where you want to go.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And Bethany, kind of to back it up a little bit, when we were talking about your own personal story, like, as you start to see some success with what you're doing, like you know, you saw that on PBS, you read that book, you're starting to take those actions, like, you know, how did that kind of progress? Because like, I mean, I'm sure people were noticing that you were having positive changes, you know, how was just all of that, and then the support around you and like people coming to you for questions, like how did that all play out from that?
Yeah. So a lot of my close friends and family, I'm sure at the beginning were like, here she goes again, like trying something else. And so I think, you know, with my history of that, I mean, seriously, the prior 15 years of that, you know, a lot of people didn't say much. And I was a little bit hesitant this is at the beginning. I was a little bit hesitant to share as well, because I had felt that I had failed so many times before. And if I said anything out loud publicly, then I would actually have to follow through. Right. And I think a lot of people feel that in reaching out for a coach or getting a program or something. It's like, gosh, I better put this off as long as I can, because if I commit to this, then I actually have to do something. And it's true. And very quickly after that, I'm like, I already decided that I wasn't going to stop. I was going to figure it out. I don't know what that looks like, but who cares? Like, that's life. Go. And so once I kind of revisited that, I quickly was like, all right, guys, this is what I'm doing. I posted on social media. I was telling everybody. I was sharing recipes. I was probably sharing too much of my journey and stuff, but I just couldn't help but share the progress that I was seeing and how I was actually living this new, I'm throwing up the air quotes, diet. Because every other diet, I wanted to crawl in a hole and hide in the corner and not go out to any, events or have anybody over because I'd be dying for the junk food that was around me and the snacks and stuff. And this was totally opposite. I brought food to bars and to movie theaters. I had, a bag of dried raisins and nuts in my purse. I'm carrying clementines in my bra. Like, I'm just doing what I have to do to get where I want to go. And I had made that decision mindset wise too. And not to say that I didn't struggle. Like I had mentioned, I binged plenty of times during my journey. But the difference is that I didn't throw in the towel. I just said, all right, cool. Like, let's go. Let's keep going. And so the weight was falling off and the energy was increasing. I came up with a phrase perfectly for me is love drunk on vegetables. I was so like naturally high with energy and like gratefulness and positivity and stuff. And I'm just like, is there something wrong with me? But it's because I had been in such a lifestyle prior of, depression and anxiety and just not in a good place, drunk all the time. And now everything's real, like I actually get to live and experience and stuff. And once I got to that point too, a couple years into my journey, I'm like, I cannot not tell people about this. Like, why is this not public knowledge? Why is this not on every single news screen? Like, how is this not, I got off every single one of my prescription meds. I got off every single over-the-counter med. My chronic acne that I had been struggling with for 15 years, like my skin, my face is clear now, and my eyesight is better. And like all of these things, my blood pressure's down, my cholesterol's down, like all these things. And I'm just like, how is this not everywhere? And so I decided I'm going to blast it everywhere. I just have to. And I also have to help those people that feel right now like I used to feel, because I know what that feels like. And I also know what it feels like to be on the other end of it. And I will do anything to get people to that point.
That's awesome. And like, how rewarding has it been though, to see like all of these amazing stories of people that you've been able to impact. Right. So like, so tell me a little bit about how I guess how just amazing that's been and like how it's helped you and like impacted what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine earlier today, and I'm just like, the amount of abundance and gratefulness that I feel from my one-on-one clients and my monthly members, and to see them interact with each other, like it makes me want to cry. Because it's so life-changing and it's so life-saving. I mean, this is not like join and I'll show you how to build a salad. I mean, I will show you how to build a salad, but it's so much more than the food. Everything is so connected, right? It's not just diet and exercise. Like we need to retrain our brains and our cravings and our mindset and our perspectives and open up to a life of all of those good feeling, the good vibe feels. And it's so great when I get to experience my clients having these aha moments. And, one of my clients went from, like I mentioned, closet eating earlier for myself. She would be in the closet crying, not knowing why she couldn't, eating all these junk foods and not knowing why she can't stop doing this, and in joining NutriBabe Nation. And she mentioned, do everything Bethany tells you and you will be rid of emotional eating and food addiction. And it's just rewarding to hear that my support and guidance and tools and experience in my journey, and me sharing with them my how-tos and how I overcame this. And, it's working for them too. And it's just so great to see. I mean, aside from that, there's weight loss, of course. One of my clients reversed her prediabetes and her onset fatty liver disease, like serious health changes, not only mindset and weight loss, but serious health changes are happening. And they're adding years and years and years to their life, and not just adding years to their life, but they get to enjoy those later years in, such a abundant, optimal way because of the changes, because of what they're doing right now.
Right. And that impacts an entire family.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, can you even imagine like what your life would look like right now if you hadn't made the changes that you've made? Like, right? Like puts it all into this amazing perspective.
Oh yeah. It's very, I say this a lot. It's so much, I love what I do. And so I do it all day, every day. And it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of things, but it comes back to me tenfold. Like I just get so much out of it, and seeing these other people thrive and being able to be a part of their life and their journey, and, helping them get out of, where they once were. It's just so rewarding.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And like, so Bethany, I know you have a lot of things going on. So like, is there anything happening like in the future that you want to put out and share with people just to kind of be looking for, just to continue to put out great content?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always been a big dreamer. I have a lot of things on, in the next couple of years that people will be seeing, and I'm so excited for. I have one of my lead recipe developers, Chloe from Chloe's Clean Cuisine. She's doing all my recipes, and we're partnering and doing meal plans, and that'll be released in February, March. It'll be complimentary for my NutriBabe Nation members, and we're going to do a la carte as well. We're planning a weekend retreat. Like, I'm so pumped for this.
That sounds awesome.
Oh yeah. It's going to be like a transformational vacation, like extravaganza. Awesome. Learning and growth and recipes and food and all this awesome kind of stuff. So that'll be happening later on this year. And my own book, as well as a cookbook also. So that's all going to be coming up for me in the next couple of years.
Awesome.
And next year or two. And then my doors for NutriBabe Nation, my monthly membership site, are always open.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know you just mentioned a few of those things, and you did earlier, but if you can just give like all of the websites, all of the social media links, just all in one place, that way people can, go check you out and just follow everything that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything can be found at lovechard.com. You can get to my Instagram, my Facebook, the membership site, all from lovechard.com.
Perfect. And then Bethany, just closing question that I ask every guest, but if you just had one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it's something that's been your biggest takeaway through your whole journey, but if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
My piece of advice it's how I like to start most of my clients, whether they're monthly members or one-on-one or really just anybody, is make the decision to make a change. Because so many times I was doing all these, fad diets and doing all this stuff. I was always trying stuff. I mentioned that a lot. I was trying this, trying that. And the difference between trying and doing is insane. When you commit to making a change, it's just, you got to make the decision to make the change. And I guess the second part of that is knowing what you want and why you want it. Once you hit those three, making the decision, knowing what you want and why you want it, then it's just like finding the house, finding a mentor, a coach, or a program, or books, or websites, or a document, something to show you the hows. But if you try to do the hows without knowing what the end goal for you is, what some of your goals are, why you're doing this, like why you really want to do this, it's going to be hard to continue going forward. It'll be easy to talk yourself out of doing something, like eating a salad. It'll be easy to talk yourself into eating a cookie if you don't know why you are in this. And dig deep, like not surface level stuff. Dig, ask yourself, why are you doing this?
Absolutely. No, that's perfect, Bethany. I love it. And I'm excited just to, share your site, share your social media links to everybody so they can go follow you. And just thank you so much for taking time to come on. I loved having you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Casey.
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Bethany. She's doing such amazing work, and I know she's going to change so many people's lives. Bethany and I talked about her program on NutriBabeNation.com, and she wanted to offer a discount for Unlock Wellness podcast listeners. So if you guys want to check it out, go to NutriBabeNation.com and use the coupon code UNLOCK10 to get $10 off your first month of her program. Be sure to also give Bethany a follow on social media to keep up with the amazing things that she's doing. You can find her website and her social media links that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. That's DrKaseyJohnson.com. click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Bethany's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Bethany, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved it. I hope it inspires you. And most importantly, I hope you take action.